How you doing, babe? I'm
good.
Barb Wallace. I'm here with Donna Allward. Thank you for coming back to step into the story. Between us, Donna and I have written close to 100 books. And if there's anything we like better than writing books, it is reading books. So we come here once a month to break down books that we've read and kind of talk about what worked and what didn't work. We're actually taping this discussion a little bit ahead of time because it's that time of year when everyone's a little crazy.
Yeah.
So when you're watching this tonight, I will be at a Christmas party and Donna has another obligation, but it doesn't mean that we're not going to give you a good discussion right now. I am going to pass this over to Donna because she picked it and because it was her selection this month. So why don't you tell us what it was and what it's about?
Okay, so this month's pick was Christmas Bells. Oh, I should have flipped my camera when I set up. It was Christmas Bells by Jennifer Chiaverini. And I picked it because I wanted a historical Christmas fiction just for December. And it follows two different timelines. So the first one is, it's basically a story about the writing of I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day, which is based on Christmas Bells, which is a poem by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Yeah. So half the book is about Longfellow and during the Civil War. And then the other half is a contemporary storyline from, like each section is a different character's point of view, and then they all sort of come together into a resolution in the end. So that was what we read for this month.
You know what I was thinking about today when I was getting ready for this? We had a lot of Christmas books to choose from. If anyone could suggest a really good Hanukkah historical fiction, because like there's a lot of Christmas ones, and I was like, well, Hanukkah's too. And I was thinking to myself, it would be great to read something. So if anyone wants to suggest one, I would love to read it.
Throw it in the comments. We'll give it.
Yeah, please. I'd love to read it.
Yeah.
Oh. So we talked about it's inspired by the poem, which Donna's got a PDF of, so you don't have to listen to me read it.
I'm going to put it up here. There we go.
So if you take a look, though, we know most of the early paragraphs. It's a beautiful song about peace on earth. But then as you further on, it's safe to say that this book is based on stanzas 4 through 7.
Yeah.
Which is about the Civil War and the cannons and his doubt that there'll be peace on earth.
Yeah.
So my question is, did you know the background of the poem before you started this book?
I did not. In fact, I am such a Luddite that I didn't even realize that the carol was based on the poem.
I didn't either. I had no idea. I mean, I knew he wrote the poem, and I knew that the song was based on his poem. And I've been to the Wayside Inn, which is a beautiful country place, and I thought maybe it was some kind of just one winter day he wrote a beautiful poem. I had no idea that this was about this.
Yeah.
And it's about a very dark time.
Very.
Yeah. So what would you say was the theme of the book? Since it's clearly not peace on earth.
Honestly, I really feel like it's the last stanza, or, what happens right after More Loud and Deep. Because we hear God is not dead, nor doth he sleep, like more than once in the story. And then when we look at the conclusion from of both storylines, I think that last stanza actually does form the theme of the story.
Yeah, that's a good. The right shall prevail, and spoiler alert: the North won the Civil War. So, I spoiled it for everyone. I also thought family was a big theme. The importance of family, the reliance of family, and the importance of maintaining family ties in the hardest of times.
Yeah.
That ran through a lot of it. Obviously, Longfellow was very, very close to his family, and his family, not just his children and his wife, his extended family and friends who were like family, who all ran to his aid during some of his horrible things.
Well, and actually, I think if you look at Laurie in the contemporary storyline, she too had, like Father Ryan was a friend, and she had her own sort of network of people. And I thought too that, she was sort of the Henry character in the contemporary storyline because she's waiting it's her loved one that's in battle. So I'm waiting to hear.
Yes. Yeah, I thought so too. That's a good point. Her family is supposed to mirror Wadsworth's. I kept calling him Wadsworth the entire time. It's Longfellow, but because it's Henry Wadsworth Longfellow.
Right.
I can call him Wadsworth, but yeah, they're supposed to mirror each other. And a point of the big in the historical, a big point of the conflict is that Charles Henry Wadsworth Longfellow's son wants to fight. He wants to join the army and fight for the North. And Longfellow is an avowed pacifist.
Yeah.
And his wife was an avowed pacifist.
Yes.
And he didn't want him to fight. And so a lot of the conflict was him trying to figure out ways to keep Charles from joining.
Right. And I mean, how did you react to that? Because I mean, you've got a son in the military.
Yep. It was interesting because I did get where he was talking about. It was, he was saying, you're young. Charles was only 18. I think he started it when he was 17, like, I want to go fight about the glory of war. And, as a parent, you sit there going, well, we don't really get what war is going on. It's not just going and shooting bad guys. There's a lot of blood, a lot of disaster, a lot of hard work. And I think that that's why the mother didn't want him there. The thing that I kept going through the whole thing is I kept waiting for Longfellow. Why didn't he just say, I promised your mother you wouldn't fight? Because
I promised your mother that I would forbid you to fight.
Right. And he keeps arguing with him and coming up with these reasons. And, the kid's coming up with very good reasons why he should fight. And I actually was rooting for Charles because he turned out to be very military, very suited for the military.
Yes.
He was a good soldier. But, if the guy had just said, no, your late mother, that was her worst fear is that you'd go to war. At least the kid should know that.
Yeah.
So maybe he did. We just don't know. But in the book, he didn't. And I was like, just tell him it was his mother's wish.
Yeah. I have to admit, I didn't like Henry very much.
He was very depressed. He had a very rough life.
Yeah, he was
surprised.
He was depressed, and he believed so much in the abolitionist cause, and yet was a pacifist. But this is a war that, I mean, do we call wars necessary? I think we do at times. And regardless, it was happening, and it was happening because of this issue. And yet he would do anything to keep his son from fighting for that cause. And that bugged me a lot. Especially where he came from such a place of privilege about it too. It's like, well, I don't want Charles to fight, so I'm going to send him to Europe on a tour. Wham. I had a hard time feeling, and I mean, my heart broke for him because the fact that Fanny died is a matter of record, so it's not like it's going to be a big spoiler in the story. But, I felt horrible for him when he lost his wife. But at the same time, I also think that Charles was 18, and whether Henry liked it or not, how do you forbid an almost grown man?
Well, back then it would have been a grown man, 18.
Yeah, how do you forbid a man to do something like that at a time when it's so important?
Yeah, I mean, I am in the same. I understand his vote because no one wants to send their child to war.
Right.
And those of us whose children are in the military, you don't want your kids to get hurt. You don't want them exposed to all these things. But at the same time, Charles was a grown man, and by the end of his arguments, it was not because he was involved with romanticism of war. He believed that he was being dishonorable by sitting back and watching his friends go die.
Right.
And he was recognizing his privilege.
And even when he had gone to fight and then had seen what it was like, he still wanted to stay. He very much was a career soldier, or would have been.
Yeah, he believed in the military, and he believed in what they were doing, and
was good at it and liked it. So, and I mean, there does come a point where Henry too says that he's proud of him, despite all of his misgivings, that he finds himself becoming more proud by the day of what Charles is doing. But I did have a real issue with him, saying no, and then Charles would go back to school, and it was like, man, that poor kid.
I know, I was like, just let him go.
Yeah, and as hard as it is, you got to let your birdies fly the nest, right?
Now I did do a little research afterwards, and if you see me moving around, it's 'cause I'm sitting on my floor. I did some research after, and Charles had a wanderlust his entire life. Like, he never settled down. He never married. He lived in Japan for a while. He sailed the world. That he was just a guy that like wanted to wander and have adventure. Like, that's who he was. And I'm guessing at some point Longfellow made his peace with the fact that his son was never going to sit still for more than a couple of years in one place before he was ready to try something new.
Yeah. And his daughter never married either. She looked after him.
Oh, that's right. And I would have loved to have known more about his daughter as a grown up. That actually, so the point of one thing that a historical fiction book does that's good is it makes you go look up more history. Like, I would love to know more about Anne Longfellow, who apparently funded writing, was a big supporter of the arts in Boston. I didn't know there was a Longfellow house in Boston.
Yeah.
I lived here for 30 years, but So moving to the contemporary storyline, there is a similar storyline with someone going to war.
Yep.
And by the way, I'm gonna pause just for a minute. Last week I mispronounced Jennifer Chiavarini's last name. I kept calling it Chiavarini. It's Chiavarini, and I apologize deeply for screwing that up because
we both did that until we discovered the proper pronunciation.
That's right. Thank you for putting that on your website, that's how you pronounce it, so that we will no longer mangle it either. So anyway, she does something really interesting in the contemporary storyline. Everyone's in a church. She has 7 characters, and she does a chapter per character telling their story, which I didn't think about until I was typing up the notes. But that is what Tales from a Wayside Inn is. A whole bunch of poems told from each person's point of view. So I think that was very smart. She was trying to do something, from a writer's point of view, she was trying to do something really clever.
And echoed back, and it kind of completely different story. But when I think about that, I think about, I don't know if you've read Winter Solstice by Rosamund Pilcher.
No.
But she takes, I think it's 6. It's been a very long time since I read it. But very different people. And they each have a storyline, and then they all converge together on the same, like at the same space and the same time. And all their storylines are resolved all together. Excuse me. And that's what it reminded me of. Mm-hmm. Although very different storyline, but that same kind of structure.
Did you think it worked? Because it involves repeating the same scene 7 times.
Honestly, that's yes and no, because I like that structure. I think it's really neat, and I think it's really neat to do it and take it and then bring it all together at the end, which she did. My problem was that so much of it was backstory.
That's the hard part.
Yeah. So like when we look at Lori and Jason, it's not the story in the present with what's happening with Lori. It's basically the history of their relationship. And when we look at Father Brian is one, but
Sister Winifred.
Yeah, well, Sister Winifred though.
She was my favorite. I'm not thinking.
Yeah, she actually. I know you'd written down here like which one was your favorite, and she was my favorite as well. We didn't get as much backstory with her because we saw her interacting with each of the other characters. And she's, this little old lady that's just a little bit manipulative, and I just love her. Like she's just working it,
Yeah, I thought that Chiavarini did something really funny with her.
Yeah, I liked her a lot. But some of the others, like with Lucas, the pianist and stuff, so much of it was like backstory. That I wanted to get more about what was happening in the present.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it did work for me in some ways, and it didn't quite work for me in others.
I get that. Yeah, I think she took a challenge doing that. She took some risks, and I'm never going to diss a writer for trying to take a risk.
No.
Particularly once I figured out what she was trying to do, and she was trying to mirror Longfellow's structure so that it fit with the Longfellow story. I was like, okay, I'm going to cut you even more slack. And she had a lot of challenges trying to do that because you have to reveal a lot in order to make each chapter work.
Yeah.
And it did involve some telling. So
and to be honest, the contemporary storyline was the one that I preferred.
Really? See, I like the historical one better for reasons. We talked about
reasons. Well, hopefully
there is a mistake in there that 98% of the world will never ever notice, which is why I'm not going to say it what it was. But I saw it; it was glaring, and then after that, I could not get it out of my head. And when that happens, it just takes you out of the story. So I didn't get taken out of the story with the historical one, which I'm also going to say, if you read the back notes, she had the most meticulous research for that storyline. I kind of wish she had for the contemporary one, is all I'll say. I thought there was a little bit of sloppiness in that.
Yeah, but you know, I had a feeling when you said there was something that had come up. I had a feeling that it was going to be about a certain thing, but I couldn't pin down what it was. And then when you told me, I was like, oh yeah. But you're right. For 98% of the population, they'll never pick it up. But it's just because
why I'm not going to spoil it.
And it's because you have experience in this certain area that it pops up. But for the general populace, they probably won't notice. And so I wasn't pulled out about that detail.
No, and other people, I know Sue Slade actually texted us yesterday and said she loved the book. Our favorite viewer, Sue. So, and I know a lot of other people have loved it. I'm not going to purposely.
No.
And I've already said Winifred was my favorite. She was your favorite character too?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that it was really clever because you, all the way through it, you're trying to figure out how she knew everything.
Right. And like, so like, oh, she has great intuition. Like, and because the guy that was going to come talk to him, she's like, oh, he didn't call. Well, how do you know? Well, but then she's like, and there's going to be 2 inches of snow. And he's like, well, how do you know that? And she's like, it was on the front page of the Globe.
There's a real Hallmark movie feel to the contemporary one. And I was like waiting for her to be an angel or something. Cause I'm like, oh my God. But so I will say that if you loved Hallmark movies, this had such a little Hallmark feel to it.
Yeah. I loved the kids.
Yeah. The kids were
Charlotte
really
and Alex. I love them. And I could see a lot of Charlotte in one of my kids. And like, girl just needs to chill out and realize she doesn't have to be perfect.
I did want to say that to mother.
Yeah,
like, girl had a lot on her mind, so you know.
But I have one of my kids in particular is very much a perfectionist, and it's like, oh, just breathe and relax. It's okay, you know. So I did like them, and Alex just cracked me up because we've all known that kid. Well, my nephew was that kid who was like, this is really cool. Oh no, I set the neighborhood on fire.
Okay, so funny story. Andrew, when he was the same age, did rockets for the science fair. And went out and tried to do something that involved, I can't remember now, but it was flammable. And they were doing it in the driveway and nearly caught it on fire. And I think it was gasoline and something. And like, we're very lucky we didn't catch the neighborhood on fire. So I was reading it. I've been there. If he had been able to come up with something to set something on fire, because he melted a hole he and his best friend melted a hole in his grandmother's driveway at the same age. I mean, 9 is the fire years.
Actually, my brother-in-law has no hair on his legs because of something he did when he was younger. And his son got together with a couple of my brother's kids, and there was something burning at one point. So I think it's a very typical boy thing to happen. I will say though, it was
she must have sons. It doesn't say, but I'm guessing she has sons because
but when you look at that,
one can do it 9 without meaning to.
There were things in the storylines that echoed each other. So you know, with Henry and Lori both having family members serving. And in active combat. So that was there. And then also, like, I didn't realize it till later, but the accident that caught Fanny's dress on fire.
Oh yeah.
Was an accident, the same as Alex and his fire. And his Chinese lantern was an accident.
Yeah.
And so there's, you know, just kids being kids and consequences to that, and feeling responsible.
Well, and even Charlotte's storyline was tied to the Longfellow house.
Yep.
and poetry.
Yeah, so there were a lot of connections between the two, which is very. I love it when a book has resonance like that.
That was actually, I didn't even think about that one, but that was, she really did do a lot of echoing.
Yeah.
That was, hats off.
Yep.
So overall, did you like the book?
I'm gonna be honest, it was a little bit of a miss for me, and only because, and it's a taste issue, but only because I found that the historical section in particular was very telly. Like it was very much of what was happening in the war, and as the story moved on, and Charles was then a soldier and in battles and that kind of thing, it wasn't so strongly that way, and I found that part of it a little bit better for me.
Yep.
But in the beginning, it was very much it almost felt like reading a nonfiction about the Civil War. So there was that, and some of the backstory heavy bits in the contemporary. So it was a little bit of a miss for me, but honestly, what's a miss for me could be someone else's like complete jam.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't weigh that too heavily.
Well, especially since even if you just take the two of us, I liked the historical. And while I knew it was kind of telly, I was learning things I didn't know. So I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So it wasn't bothering me that she was telling me facts because it was still kind of neat.
And
And plus, being from Boston, I was recognizing a lot of the names and a lot of the places. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool.
Also, I think it's indicative of where my head is right now, which is I just handed a book in last Thursday.
Yep.
And I'm a little bit toasty toast. And so I think what I probably wanted was something a little more like something I could just sort of sink into the story and be sort of drawn along. And this isn't that kind of story, or it wasn't for me. So at a different time, like when my brain isn't so toasty, because I like, wow. I probably would have appreciated it more as it should be.
Yeah. Well, I think she's, like I said at the beginning of the talk, that she set herself a challenge for trying to balance what's kind of a very sober story with a more Hallmarky story. And I keep calling it like Hallmark Meets the Wayside Inn. And the contemporary is very light. It's got a heavy storyline in it. Don't get me wrong. It's got a somber story.
Yeah, but it has a nice, like, warm holiday feel to it.
Right. And you knew you going into it reading the sad stuff, knowing there's going to be a happy ending because it's Christmas and nothing bad happens at Christmas.
Right. And the kids are going to sing beautifully at the Christmas Eve Mass.
Right. And miracles do happen, and no one writes a Christmas book and has bad things happen at the end. That would just be the most unpopular Christmas book. And she's too smart an author to do that. So I knew that was something it would be good.
Right.
It was so somber at the second half of it. But even that had a sort of hopeful ending at the end.
Yes, it did. So
she did pull it together. I think that I would like her straight historicals. This is the first book I'd read by her.
Yeah.
I think that I would like to try. She wrote Mrs. Lincoln's Dressmaker, and she's got one about John Wilkes Booth. I know she's got something about World War One.
She did Resistance Women as well.
Yeah. I'm really interested in more. I'd love to see the one that she wrote about John Wilkes Booth. I think that one would be very interesting because she certainly knows her Civil War stuff.
Yeah.
I'm kind of burnt out on World War II books right now. But
I'm never burnt out on World War II books.
I am. So I think that we both would say the same. And I think that I was going to say, it's like a Hallmark movie in that you'll enjoy it while you read it, but it probably is not something that's going to stick with you for days. But on the other hand, you don't want something that's going to be so distracting right now because you're looking for just a moment of escape. You're not looking.
I would say it's not going to stick with me for days, but that contemporary storyline, I think, is going to resonate with me for a little while, which is a good thing because there were just the characters were very, very likable.
Yes, they were.
And so I am left with like a warm fuzzy.
Yes, I was too.
From the end of that, because the characters were very likable.
Yeah, I would say maybe it's, it was a good, not super excellent Pulitzer Prize winning character quality, but it was a good read.
Well, that's not the intent of it either, right?
What's that?
it's not it's not the intent of that kind of a book.
No, I think she accomplished everything she was trying to accomplish. I would say read it for yourself. Most people, I think, are going to like it. We were coming at it. One was I had a bias, and I don't think that's fair of me to judge a book based on a bias. And Donna was fried. So
I was fried. But seriously, like I said, some people might really, really love all the. I mean, you did all the history and and learning those bits. And so for me, it was a taste issue.
Yeah, and judging from the reviews online, a lot more people liked it than didn't like it. So
yeah,
there's a lot of 4 and 5 star reviews. So I'm going to go with buy it. It's a good read for Christmas time.
Yep.
And read it if you're looking for a nice little break and you need a book.
There you go.
Okay, so what's coming up? Why don't we tell people what's coming up?
Because we're all right. What is coming up? So a week from today. My brain is still like. A week from today, we have our December writing room, which is going to be about planning for 2023. So if you are a writer and you want to get your ducks in a row for 2023, I used to do a strategic planning workshop that was like jam-packed full of stuff and took at least an hour. I'm not going to do that.
Doing the 15 minutes.
But I think I'll just keep it simple. And Barb and I'll put together something that's sort of like a 5 steps to planning your year kind of thing that we can do in about 30 minutes to just help you sort of get centered for 2023. On the 20th, we're going to chat about our 2022 reading challenge. And then
I still have one book left to read.
Same, but I'm good now because my book's in. I know yours isn't. I'm sorry. I know you're still in writing mode. I'm just so relieved to. Right.
The book I've got left, I'm looking forward to. It's a Pulitzer Prize. It's gonna be good.
You're zeroing in on the end.
Yep.
So that's awesome. So on the 20th, we're going to talk about our reading challenge for 2022. And then on the 27th, because it's between Christmas and New Year's, we're going to do some Facebook fun just in our community to help our founding member, Renee Ryan, celebrate the release of The Secret Society of Salzburg, which is out on the 27th. And then
use their gift cards and buy it.
Yes, it's a great time to put it on your new Kindle or, any gift card you've got. And then we are going to have her on in January as our pick for the month, and she's going to join us and sort of guest host. And
we're going to put her on the hot seat.
We are. It's been too long since she's been on camera, so we're going to bring her back. One night only.
One night only, Renee.
Yeah. So that's what's coming up.
Okay. Before we wrap up, because we'll be back 2 more weeks, but this is the last time we're going to do a book discussion for the month. So we want to thank everyone who's been watching all year. Donna and I do this mostly because it gives us a good excuse to read and talk books. I mean, it is a labor of love, and we're really happy when people come and join us. We've got a lot of subscribers in the last couple of weeks, and we really appreciate it. We're getting very close to being a real live YouTube show.
Being legit.
That's the one that we just do because of the hell of it. And so we thank you, and we hope that you'll watch again in 2023 because we got a lot planned.
Yep, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And,
so we can become a real legit show.
Well, and then you can go back and it's a very convenient spot for all of our back episodes if there's something that you're looking for.
That's it. We've got a lot of reading and writing tips to share with you next year.
You betcha.
Okay. Thanks for everybody. Have a wonderful rest of the week. Good luck catching up on all the to-dos for the holidays, both holidays, Hanukkah and Christmas. And we'll see you soon.
You bet.
Okay. Bye-bye.